Hey, what's going on guys, Pagani Gaming here, welcome back to another round of wheel-to-wheel racing. This time it's round 2 at Catalina in the Group 3s, and we start off with a pretty poor qualifying session. Put it like this, you know you're in trouble when ZD out-qualifies you. So hopes were pretty low for this round. We couldn't get any sectors linked up properly. Start the first race, mid-pack. A full lobby, 16 drivers ready to tussle for position before the first corner. In a beautiful livery done by Hammy to the bone. He's done an outstanding job. Each season he does a really good job when it comes to doing the liveries for my car. And we get off to a pretty good start. The Aston Martin trying the second gear strategy off the line. It is a lot harder to do in the Aston Martin compared to the Lexus. But we did an okay start, moving up into 6 almost immediately. And a bit of a tussle between a few drivers, trying to figure out where they are on the track. We've got Mad Mitch behind us, and also Spence with ZD, Hippo, Tug and Jonesy all up ahead. Like we said before, Catalina is a very technical track. It involves a lot of throttle control, a lot of late apexes depending on what corner and depending on what corner it is. But we're still holding on to a 5th position, so we're doing alright. We knew eventually we'll pass ZD. Coming under pressure, he'll eventually crack when the time is right, and we'll eventually move up into 4th position. Up ahead, Jonesy, I believe, copped a 1 second penalty, and unfortunately had to burn that before he copped a greater penalty from the stewards of the league. But ZD with a massive send, we also follow him as well. So we put ourselves up into 3rd, with Hippo now behind us. Hippo was a very quick driver. He is quick regardless, but he was very much on the pace around this track. A big surprise, in my opinion, for a driver who I didn't think was going to trouble me this much. We did pass him, then he ended up passing us the following lap. We did try and go for an undercut here, and we just couldn't get it done because he held the inside line pretty well. We ended up giving him a bit of a bump. Coming near the end of the 2nd lap, he ends up turning his car into a rally car, and we make the most of that opportunity, try and go up on the inside. We're going to have a bit of a bump. Thankfully, nothing too major, but now we're contesting for 3rd place at the start of lap 3. Ultimately, on a long straight such as Catalina, when you're in a slipstream, you're going to end up passing the driver in front of you. So Hippo slowly but surely makes his way around the inside of turn 1. We're going to tuck him behind him, again give him another bump. We were trying again to do an undercut, I just couldn't get it done. And then through here we just threaded the needle. Honestly did not think I was going to get past him without either running on the grass or bumping him. But we ended up going a bit of side-by-side action here. It's always good to see some very close racing, especially around a track like this where going side by side isn't the most ideal thing to do. But you can see there Hippo running a little bit wide, and we almost follow him, almost turning our car completely the wrong way. Thankfully we caught it and we held on to 4th position. But now we had ZD, who ran a little bit wide coming out of the last corner, and for some weird reason GT Sport thought that even though he ran wide in the sand, it was still right to give him a penalty. So ultimately he burnt that penalty off, and that opened up the door for us to try and gain a 3rd position. So we're now behind ZD at the start of lap 8. Remember that thing I said about ZD cracking under pressure? Well, final lap, half a lap to go, and for some weird reason just died. So we ended up passing him. It was rather unfortunate for him, great for us though. So we moved up into 3rd and ultimately securing our 3rd spot, with Tug coming 1st and Hippo coming 2nd. So to start off the first race, we did rather well. We honestly were not expecting to finish this high based off our performance in quali, but we move on to race 2 now, and as with every other second race, the grid is flipped based off race 1's results. So because we finished 3rd in the first race, we now start 3rd from the back in the second race. And a really odd start. J-Dub gets a really poor start, ZD also gets a poor start. We did try running on the grass, unfortunately there was still a bit of overlap. between me and ZD. And right here, I just completely did not anticipate Rob Reed braking that early. So we ended up going to the back of him, ultimately spinning us around. And unfortunately for J-Dub, was just there at the wrong time and being the innocent victim. But it wasn't too bad for us. Again, the race only had just started, so it wasn't that big of a deal, in my opinion. We didn't end up passing two drivers almost immediately, and then passing Troy, who ran wider a little bit. I think he had a bit of a bump from someone else. And then it doesn't stop here. So Spence goes off, then Rob Reed goes off, and then Tug's off on the grass on the left side. And we're now trying to just serpentine our way through the pack. We now moved up into 11th within half a lap, and we started last, thanks to our incident on the first turn. So we're now on the outside of the Porsche, and we were well in front, and then apparently for some reason the Porsche just forgets we're there. So got completely ran off track. We weren't too happy about that, but we come back again, trying to fight for 10th position, just to get out of the way. Start of the second lap, he's done a pretty good job to hold around the outside. The Porsche is a really good handling car. Unfortunately, because of my lack of skill, I can't manage to keep that thing in a straight line. But we're going to be right up behind him. We're going to go up on the inside. Unfortunately for Tug, he was just there as well. He gave me a bit of a bump as he flashed his lights, as he wasn't too happy about that. And then getting a massive bump from him behind. I honestly was so surprised I didn't get sent to the realm with how ferocious that bump was. But we move up into 10th, ultimately passing the Porsche. So now we can open up our legs and start getting more positions. I was almost re-end ZD, almost killing him as he was redressing for an incident between him and Up You Baby. And then Mad Mitch as well, and then Medrisky, we gave him an unintentional bump, and then again as well. And then Tug of War, absolutely giving no shits about what's happening in front of him, just plows his way through and hopes for the best. We thought it was best to just cut the corner completely and get out of the complete mess behind us. But we now start lap 7, and he's one of my most favourite defensive moves. So coming to the first corner, the inside line is the best line to take for an overtaking move. Tug wanted to get inside line, we're not letting him have any of that, so he wanted to move to the outside, and then ever so slowly we're going to start forcing him wider and wider, just to open up our line a little bit so we don't have to brake earlier and then have a slower line compared to him. So we ended up holding him off there, and then we've caught up to the pack up ahead. Big Daddy Dow getting involved with the drivers up ahead, putting us up into 5th, and then we ultimately ended up catching back up to our teammate J-Dub, who was unfortunately caught in our mess at the first corner. So we passed him for 4th. He's a very quick driver, I will give him that. I think he does have the pace to rival drivers in the higher lobbies, such as Lobby A and Lobby B. He'll still be racing in the lower lobbies, but I think ultimately, give him a few more rounds, he will be racing with the top dogs in Lobby A and probably Lobby B as well. But we move up into 3rd as Spence runs a little bit wide, and that brings Jade up also. And we were trying our best to try and reel in Jonesy. Fortunately, we couldn't. Not before J-Dub almost killed us, completely missing his braking point. Luckily for us, we ended up seeing that and ended up turning away from him. So we managed to hold on to 3rd place once again for this race. So race 1 and race 2 both finishing in 3rd place. So 2 thirds and possibly an unknown result for the final race, which is once again the grid is flipped based off the previous race results. And this is now a 30-minute race, and with a mandatory medium tyre compound. So we start off on the medium tyre because we're at the back of the pack. It's just the more ideal strategy. So we've got Jonesy and Hippo behind us with Tug in front, and the world happens in front of us. That's one driver up in the wall at the first corner, so he got sent to the realm. Another few drivers coming into an entanglement, and our main objective here was just to survive. Nothing more, nothing less, just come out the other side alive, because we knew that if we did, we were going to be gaining a fuck ton of positions by doing so, and we ended up doing that, coming up into 7th. So we started 13th and finished that first sector in 7th. passing the driver as they came to the pits, and then passing Jade up here for the first corner and for 5th position. And now we had to chase down Tug, ZD, and a couple other drivers up ahead. And unfortunately for ZD, he got sent to the realm by Tug. So Tug had to redress that position. So we ended up moving up into 3rd. Start the 4th lap, we had J-Dub come up on the inside. A very nice move, very smooth. He very much knew what he was doing there. But we now had Hippo right behind us to give J-Dub a little bit of a bump, as we were carrying a lot more speed through those few sets of corners as we took a different line. And ultimately, when two teammates race like this side by side, only one thing can happen, and unfortunately it does happen a little later on, you will see. But we ended up going up on the inside of J-Dub here. A bit of a bump, it wasn't nothing too major, but this isn't the worst to come between me and J-Dub. They did open up the door for Hippo, and you're going to see here where I'm absolutely embarrassed about what happened here. And J-Dub was absolutely furious about this, and I can completely understand why. So coming through here, I gave him a bit of a bump. I tried to give him as much racing as possible. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough, and I ended up putting him in the sand. It didn't slow him down too much, but that killed all his momentum for the hairpin. So we weren't too happy about that with how we dealt with that. Slayer mounting the curb, taking a really slow line, saw this as a key to coming to the pits, and he does so. It puts us up into 3rd, and now we're behind Hippo. And we knew Hippo was on the same tyre as us, but we knew that he was going to be burning more fuel than us. So even though he was pulling on us ever so slightly, because he just had more outright pace than us, we knew eventually we were going to be closing that gap in the pit. So you see he comes in with 21, we come in with 28 fuel, and we chuck on the soft tyres, and you can see the difference in refuel time has what it's done for us. So he came in with about 3 seconds of a gap. Now we've closed it down to just under 2 seconds. So we ended up closing that gap enough to pressure him, and for some weird reason, during that pit stop for Hippo, there must have been a driver change, because Hippo just could not get it linked up together, which is rather odd because he was showing some really good pace in the first 2 races, but just couldn't get it together in the 3rd. You see there, a couple of corners running a bit wide, and especially through here, I just couldn't get the exit. And we were taking notes of what was happening up ahead with Hippo, and we were trying to time our attack perfectly. So we tried having a look here. He's going to hold the inside line. We're going to try and duke him out. He doesn't fall for it. End up giving him a bit of a bump, and then he runs wide again. So we end up trying to go side by side. We don't have enough grip to get the power down sooner than we wanted. So we're going to stay behind him and then make an absolute fool of ourselves here, missing the braking point by a good 20 meters. I can only imagine Hippo's face when he saw me just completely overshoot it. So we moved back down to 3rd after getting a little bit too excited for the first corner. But lap 13 now, and he's run wide again, having a really poor exit. So an even worse exit compared to the previous laps. So we're tucked up right up behind him, try and get an absolute awesome run, and we do so in the slipstream, coming around the outside. We're going to try and hold him tight, and then we're going to try and go around the outside, try and go for an undercut here, and we do so rather well with a pretty clean move. We're now side by side again, and the same part of the track. He backs out, probably the more ideal choice, and we now moved ourselves up into 3rd as the driver up ahead came to the pits. But now we had 2 laps of defending to do with Tug and Hippo behind us, and we knew that if we could hold Hippo off and bring Tug of War behind Hippo, Hippo would end up having to defend. So we come around the 4th corner here. Hippo's going to try and go on the outside. Hippo's going to back off, and unfortunately run a little bit off into the grass, and an absolute miracle happens behind us as Hippo and Tug collide, which means that Hippo has to redress that position, and our eyes glossing as jaws were dropped onto the floor as we end up getting our first win of the season for season 6, a rather early win. So it was pretty good to see that happen. We already got some good Tupperware on our shelf. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below. subscribe to the channel if you're new. With that being said, guys, I shall catch you in the next one.